Hello, today we'll be taking a look at this quite sizable box from Eachine, but just before we get into that, a quick reminder to please like or dislike this video if you didn't like it, comment down below, don't forget to subscribe, and if you can find it, don't forget to click on that little bell icon which will tell you when I'm uploading stuff. So yes, an Eachine product today, the LAL5, and I have to say when I saw the spec for this, I was fairly blown away. It looked really well thought out, it looked like everything you actually wanted. And the big difference between this and my normal quads is this is a 6S quad. I haven't really had any before, except for that little X140 thing that kind of exploded when I tried a sort of ghetto 6S on it. So I haven't actually got my 6S batteries yet, they're just in the post, they should be coming tomorrow. But in the meantime, let's open this up and see what we get in it. Because I had a look at the spec of this online and I said, yeah, absolutely I want to test that. That looks really well thought out. And I'll show you why. Let's just get this box open and we'll go through what's in there to start with. And under the protective layer is some stuff. These are dowel props, 5046. Looks like we've got two sets there. Got some Eachine stickers. Got some cable ties. Got one of these bizarrely cut carbon fibre guns. Some screws, some silicone sticky battery strap, a couple of little carbon fibre cut some spanners, prop nuts, and at this point let's get the actual quad out itself, which is packed in pretty tightly. And it looks like this. What a beastie. These motors look absolutely huge. Now what is special about this? Well, several things. First off, you will notice the camera here, and if I just take this off, look, see it's got two lenses. That's because it's a Tarsier, and in the bag as well this is an ND filter for the Tarsier. So you've got a decent FPV camera coupled with up to a 4K recording camera there. And I've always mentioned in the past that the Tarsier camera was really quite hard to fit into a 5-inch quad because the stack size was quite big. So what they've got here, they've got your normal stack, ESC board, flight controller, VTX up the top there, and at this back bit here they've actually got the 3 stacks of the Tarsier on the 20mm mount point there. But anyway, these are pretty big, 2507 motors at 1850 kV. 6S, as I mentioned, a new thing for me. They're very blinged up, aren't they? Very golden coloured. The ESC runs up to 50 amp and can do D-Shot 1200. F4 flight controller, they say it's a customised one for this board, but runs the Matex F4F5 firmware. VTX is the Eachine TX 805. Runs smart audio, goes 25, 200, 600, 800 milliwatts, lots there. Obviously you got the antenna nicely installed in this little TPU stuff here. Nice TPU protectors on the arms as well, that's quite a good detail. Ditto, we've got something protecting the camera there too. Top mount battery, and we've already got one of those silicon pads installed. Now the other thing it says, which I thought was very interesting, is it's got some sort of Bluetooth adapter in here, so you should be able to configure it via your phone using the SpeedyBee app. I actually reviewed one of those Bluetooth adapters before, never actually saw them catch on, but it'd be interesting to see if indeed it's in there, if it's all set up properly, see how it works. Another really nice touch there, one of these sort of great attention to detail things I liked about it. Doesn't come with a receiver. This is a plug and fly. It's got a little connector here, presumably for S-Bus. Not sure what I'm going to put on that yet. Something with some decent range would be quite nice. I've just noticed as well there's a battery strap holder here, so perhaps you've got the option to bottom mount a battery if you want to. So I guess there's purists saying things like, oh, well you've mounted the lovely Tarsier camera at the front, but you're going to get props in view there. So that is certainly a consideration for people who want this sort of thing as a camera drone, because it's not, that's definitely not going to clear the props. For me, I don't mind it. Quite like to see the props in context with the rest of the quad in terms of like some HD footage there. But I'm really keen to see how this needs to get set up and what we need to do to fly it. So I'm going to plug this into Betaflight first off to see what's going on there, to see how it's been set up. I'll figure out what receiver I'm going to put in there, because at the moment my batteries aren't here and I can't fly. I've just ordered some to two 1050 6S batteries, which I think look pretty good, which seem to be about the size to use. I'm a bit of a noob at 6S, so I'm going to have to concentrate more about my ending voltage and be careful. I keep hearing from people about, like, you don't want to get past that bottom voltage else it really drops off. It will hold its voltage really nicely until it doesn't, and then it'll die off. So anyway, Betaflight next. Let's see what's set up and let's see what we need to do. Hello, it's me from the future. I needed to interject here because I realised watching it back it looks like I'm going to go off on a weird tangent and I hadn't explained it when I actually filmed it. What happened was I got a ping from my buddy Andy RC. We often get similar or the same things to review, and sometimes we exchange notes beforehand. This time he had been working on the LAL and he'd found a problem with it and wanted to know if I'd hit the same problem. At this point I hadn't even started with it yet, so I hadn't connected to Betaflight and everything. He found there was a problem. Simply when you armed the quad you'd get this issue in the FPV screen showing up, and he wanted to know if I'd got it to see if it was a problem with his or it was perhaps a problem with everything. So what I'm doing here is I'm connecting that up, and I haven't put it into Betaflight, and I was pretty much guessing that aux1 or aux2 was going to control the arming, and all I would need to do was arm to show the problem. So this is what I'm doing. A couple of days later we got word back from Banggood via a post on RC groups about what the problem was and how to fix it. So let's jump back to me in the past. Bit of a strange setup here. We've got this quad connected via a battery, but we've got this lead for the receiver going into the Nebula's receiver because I didn't have a spare one. This is just to test out what would happen if I actually armed it. And if I do arm it, you'll see we've got some nasty lines appearing when just the motors are spinning up on air mode there. If we increase that, it gets worse, and basically the entire OSD disappears. This is overheating, so I'm going to stop it. So, some confusion, but it seems the solution here, or the problem here, these screws here, which hold the Tarsier in place, are metal, and this is apparently resolved by using nylon. So before I go anywhere else, I'm going to see if I can exchange these screws out for some nylon ones. Hopefully I've got some M2 ones around, and we'll see if that fixes the problem, because I can't believe anybody who's reviewed this and flown it hasn't talked about that issue. This apparently just happened to the review models that went out to reviewers, but part of the reason I mention this is just in case you got one and you got this really weird situation. This is what it's apparently all about. But let's change them out and see what happens. Well, good news and bad news. If we do remove those metal screws and then we start this copter up, we do indeed get a nice clean display, no problems there at all. The only spanner in the works here is what screws they're actually using. Rather than the normal thing about going up with sort of riser bars, these were using these pretty long metal screws. I think measuring them they're about an M2 by 18mm, which is not something your average 2mm riser set carries. I've got like 6mm as my maximum size. I just tried this by putting some washers down the bottom, and that didn't work, so it's obviously coming up through the frame where it's shorting out. I was wondering why I didn't have this on my previous Tarsier I tried standalone, because I used metal screws there, but what I actually had is I used this mounting plate to get it up to the larger stack size, and of course that then protects me from anything else going on. So can't really get around that very well. I'm going to have to go onto eBay and find some larger nylon screws to use instead of these metal ones. So it's several days later, and here what I have is one of the little nylon nuts I ordered. People often ask me where I get these, hello focus, where I get things like this, just these one-offs, and I find eBay quite good, especially if you want them from inside your country reasonably quickly. That said, I couldn't get the exact length or colour. I've got this white one, it's a bit long, but of course you can just snip the ends off because they're nylon. That is installed. Not particularly prettily there, but it holds stuff in and things, and let's give it a test and see what happens. So if we just plug in here.
Telemetry recovered.
And I haven't actually set this quad up, but I think one of my
Angle mode.
something's already set up. There we go. So if we give it a good bit of welly all the way, seems alright. We've got some sort of little pulsing going on there, but I'm not sure if that's just interference from my Wi-Fi. We will find out. Anyway, I'll put the top on this and we'll get it onto Betaflight finally so I can actually find out what switch does what. Then we'll finally get this thing out for a fly. Hooray! Okay, let's dig into Betaflight and see what we've got set up and see what we need doing. So I'm going to show you the situation as it is before I do anything with it. If there's anything significant, I'll come back to it. We've got the quad connected. There it is, waving around. So let's go to the ports and see what's happening. Lots of ports. We've got the USB connector on, well, it's specific VCP connection. That's good. On UART1, interestingly, it says GPS, even though there's no GPS in there. That's odd, isn't it? UART2 is clear. UART3 has smart audio there. That's good. UART4 nothing. And UART5, you'll notice, is also on the configuration MSP. Now, this is for the Bluetooth connection for the SpeedyBee. We'll come to that bit later. I would probably do my initial setup always on a proper PC, just so you've got a nice big screen, and then any other little changes you can do on your phone or whatever. Anyway, configuration wise, it's running D-Shot 1200. I will be adding mode to stop, an 8K 2K loop. One thing, yeah, that mode to throttle idle seems a little bit low, but I don't know, is this different with 6S? Who knows? Well, I'll have to look at that, because it feels like this should normally be around 4 or 5% at least. We shall see. Arming's 180, I'm liking that. I will update the craft name. And what else we got? Air mode is on. I don't like that. I like to switch my air mode on, so I'll turn that off. And we've got RX set, which I do like. That's good. Power and battery seems quite reasonable. PID tuning looks kind of like nothing really has changed there. And if we look at the rate settings, this looks pretty bog standard. I'll be upping the super rates to get about 1000 degrees a second there. Receiver, I've got that connected. Everything's looking quite good. Yours just a little bit out by the look of it, so I'll sort that out. Some switches are in place, and I've got the RSSI here on channel 16, or AUX 12 as it calls itself. ATR channel map, which is what I like. Handy. Modes, this is what they've got out of the box. Nothing really there. It's all on AUX 1 and AUX 2, so you arm it and you're straight into angle mode no matter what. Not really what this quad's about. And you've got turtle mode. Bit different. Motors, well, yeah, they look like motors. And OSD, don't like that at all. Just this stab of spreadsheet looking stuff at the bottom. I will spread this around. So yeah, just a little bit to do there, but it shouldn't take me long. So I'll do that and we'll come back and look at what we can do over the phone with the SpeedyBee app. Okay, so there are a few little bits that I mentioned we could do on a phone. One of which is the Tarsier itself. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to power the Tarsier via the USB connector, just so I can keep the actual quad disconnected. What I'm going to do is hold down this button for about 5 seconds, and then you'll see this green LED come on down there, or flash. And at this point we've got connection to the Cadex network, so if we do that, then go into this Cadex app. Oh, it's already there. It's already connected from the last time I did it. So what you've got in here is a whole bunch of settings you can do, and definitely worth going in them, because you probably won't like what it's got by default. For example, that's my hand there. Where are we? Over there. That's your live view. So it's got stuff like it's on a loop recording at the moment. So I'm going to change that to normal video. Obviously you can stop and start recording there. It says no SD card, but there is one in there. That's interesting. Obviously there's no files on there because it thinks it doesn't have an SD card. I'll look at that in a second. Resolution is 4K 30 currently, so I'm going to change that to 1080p 60. Yeah, let's format that card to see if it works. If it starts now. Okay, so it starts recording, that's good news. Right, I kind of forgot how this worked for a while, and I thought, oh, where's auto recording? And then when I looked in here, I see we've got recordings already. And what I was getting confused at is I was looking for something that says actually auto record. And what it is, it's start action. If start action is normal video, it will start doing normal video, simple as that. So that should start recording as soon as we turn on now. And yeah, you can just change all your settings there and it's a little bit easier. To get stuff off the Tarsier, you can do it via the USB cable, or you can get the SD card out. This SD card is quite accessible here, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem to do so. But let's just unplug that a sec, because we need to have one look at the other thing this guy can do. So if we plug in, then what I'm going to do is use the SpeedyB app, because this has got, as you saw on the setup, another UART set up to talk in Betaflight, and it's got the strange name of TC Mimble. But if we go like that, we've now got the full range of the Betaflight on this quad. You can see me moving about, seeing it. It's saying no valid receiver signal is detected. That's absolutely true. But I can go through and look at stuff. And one really useful thing you can do in this, which you can't do, is you can have a look and change your OSD about. And there's my OSD, and I could, for example, grab that bit and move it, and you'll see that is then backed up in my display by that being moved, which I find really, really useful. Let's put that back again, see if it's in the right spot. Close enough. So yeah, should you need to do something out in the field, you've got full access to your CLI and everything, which is really pretty useful stuff. So I like the SpeedyB app. Okay, one useful thing here. This is the picture from the LAL5. I've got the R9 in there. I've got the Tarsier in there. Now when I turn on, this is just starting to overheat, so I'll be quick. When I turn on my R9 system, you can see we get some interference, and I think we're getting this through the R9 itself, because as soon as I turn it off...
Receiver still connected.
Yeah, shut up. That interference goes away again, which is interesting. So is it the R9, or is it the Tarsier, or is it something else? We'll have to check that out. Hello, back at the field with the LAL5 in this field, which I've sort of recce'd by walking through the woods for an hour. It was a farmer's field. I think it was part of a compulsory purchase order for the building work that's going over there. So it had an open gate and doesn't seem to have any farm stuff going on. Fingers crossed, but if someone comes out with a shotgun, then obviously we know different. So yeah, we're going to be flying this today for its maiden. At the moment I've got the ND filter on. It feels like it's not very sunny. It's really cold. This has been the coldest yet. 3 degrees, full winter gear on, although mysteriously I've warmed up by trenching through mud and forest for the last hour. But yeah, it's a nice wide open space. Hopefully we can get a good maiden, see what this can do, and see what the Tarsier can do. To fly this, I went out and bought myself some R-Line 1050 mAh 6S batteries. Never had a proper 6S quad before. Previously I'd done things in series. My skateboard, which, varying degrees of success. The X140 2 batteries and series, not very good. Hopefully these are going to be good. The only thing I've been told about success is to watch out, because they don't dip in terms of the voltage, but when it goes very suddenly. So I'll be flying this with the idea of like 3.5 volts per cell as the minimum. Means I have to be down on the ground at 21 volts, but I expect to be a little bit more conservatively, so when it gets to 22 is when I'll probably be heading back. But yeah, let's see what happens. Let's try it out. It was at this point I realised I hadn't even hovered it yet. I'd checked it all out at home, made sure the motor spun up okay, but I thought I'd just have a quick hover before I do FPV, as this is potentially very powerful and I didn't want it going horribly wrong in this big wet field. But as you can see, a quick hover, a quick circle, it all looked okay. I don't know why I'm standing like that. It looks like I'm in a sort of skiing position. Weird. Okay, so maiden time, and that flickety screen is still happening. In my head I'm thinking, okay, as I go away, let's see if this goes. And I'm waiting, and I'm still waiting, and nothing seems to be happening. And as soon as I get sort of out to here, I'm thinking, It's not going to go away, is it? something else is weirdly wrong with this. But anyway, I'm then wondering, can I fly with this? And it's amazing how quickly you can get used to stuff, despite it sort of jumping about like that and things. Your eyes can filter it out pretty quickly. So I'm flying at 25 milliwatts at the moment, and I'd like to say something about the quality of the signal and stuff, but it's really hard to tell, isn't it, whether you got all that flashing stuff on there. So what I decided to do is come on back down to land, and then I thought, well, I'll try bumping up the signal to 200 milliwatts, and I'll try moving it to F1, as that's my normal. I know that works fine around here, and we'll see what happens then. And unfortunately, the answer to that question was exactly the same thing. We're just flying around in this weird, horrible mode. And I can see I've got just a little bit of diagonal lines on the FPV recording now, which seems to have happened once I've bumped the power up. So I bored it down again and decided to do that test I did on the desk, where I powered off the radio to see what would happen. And yep, it still clears up the picture, but I just couldn't figure out what that was. So here is just the HT footage of that second flight, because really nobody wants to look at that OSD, do they? And I just wanted to show how the Tarsier was doing. We've got the ND filter on currently, mostly because I wanted to see the difference between having it on and not having it on in a couple of different recordings. And I'm just really cruising around because I haven't really figured out what this quad is for. It's quite sort of big and heavy, and it's sort of got lots on it. Is it a cruise quad? I mean, it's certainly not a race quad. You can freestyle with it if you want to. I guess it's like a sort of just multi-purpose thing for somebody who just wants to sort of casually fly around and do some FPV and maybe take some HD pictures. They can use this one. But I was thinking throughout this, now what on earth is the problem with the receiver? And I suddenly hit upon the idea that maybe it's the telemetry on the receiver that pushes the signal back, because the telemetry doesn't do anything unless it knows it's actually connected to the radio. So I brought this down again and I turned telemetry off on the R9 receiver and tried again. Success! It's not flickering, although during the times of me trying to sort out the signal, I've managed to bump my VTX power all the way up to 500 milliwatts, and you can see, yeah, there's definitely some diagonal lines going on there. I mean, it's nothing too bad, but you can definitely see it. Yeah, so I didn't want to go on about the R9 too much, because I'm kind of doubling up on this video. I'm testing the R9 as well as testing this quad, but of course this is about the quad. I mention it here because my R9 is running 868 and it's sending telemetry back, and of course that is the same frequency as you might use on Crossfire. So I was interested to know if this is going to be a problem with Crossfire as well, and is it a problem on the Tarsier? And I think it is, because when I was doing the initial tests showing that sort of weird OSD issue we were having, I was running that on a 2.4 gigahertz telemetry receiver, and that wasn't showing any weird lines or anything. So it's definitely something to do with the 868 or the 900, and I'm presuming it's with the Tarsier because I've run previous R9s before and they haven't been a problem. So watch out if you're on one of the 868 or 915 frequencies. You might want to check that out. You can work around it by turning telemetry off, of course, as I've done here. So yeah, we're just having a bit of a fly around here, and this is the first time I've been able to fly it properly and actually feel I can comment on what's going on finally, because I've got a decent display. And so a couple of things to point out here. The Tarsier, you can see, is mounted so the HD screen is at the top. So yes, you can see props in it, although if you angled up a little bit more you could get rid of those props. At the same time, this is in 16:9 1080p at 60 frames a second. A lot of people like to run 1440p and then dynamically stretch that out in order to give you a kind of GoPro Superview-esque type picture. If you did that in full 1440, you definitely have the props in shot. So if you're one of the people that can't stand props in shot,
this is maybe not going to be for you. For me, I actually don't mind it. I kind of think it's like contextually okay. I like to be reminded I'm in a quad. We've got the ND filter off at this point because I wanted to see the comparison, which is why I showed you a bit of that Flight 2 with the filter on. And overall, I'm fairly happy with what we're seeing here. I do see we get the odd little judder as we go about. It's not 100% smooth. We haven't done any tuning. We're flying as it comes. Perhaps we could tighten this up. It's not bad. It's just certainly not perfect either. There's a bit of judder. I did actually feel, after taking the ND filter off, just looking through the FPV lens as I was flying, I thought I can sense just a little bit of movement on the picture here, which I couldn't before. So I don't know if the ND filter is an absolute must when you're flying it. I'm just going to bring it down again, and you can really see the difference of what you could miss when your HD picture is at the top like that. Because we're obviously missing all the ground details. So if you're skimming over the ground slowly, you could miss all that. So that is one thing to definitely bear in mind there. So with the fourth flight and final flight, I decided to up the camera angle just to see if I could get rid of the props in shot. And you can see they've moved down a little bit on my FPV screen. However, I seem to have had a problem. With all the recordings I did, I basically started the Tarsier, basically plugged in, the Tarsier started up, and after landing I would just unplug it because it's supposed to be able to save your recording like that. On this one, I had a very small recording which was corrupt. Now I don't know if it's because just before I plugged in the battery to go, I plugged in the battery a second and then unplugged it very quickly and then plugged it back in again. So I don't know if there was some interval in between where the Tarsier was in a funny state, but the result is I've got no HD footage for this last battery, and this last battery I think was my best one. I'm flying around a bit freer, I'm getting a bit more speed going. I do have to say that the 6S is not lasting as I thought it might. It is going down quite quickly, and I think this might be because these motors are just so huge. They can really demand a lot from a small battery. It makes me think actually for this one you want something above a 1050. You want something like a 1300 6S or even bigger perhaps. Anyway, at this point I'm afraid I was out of battery, so I couldn't really get any more footage from the quad. So let's talk about what we've learnt.
Well then, that was quite an adventure, and I really wish I'd been able to spend a little more time with it, because it felt like I spent so much more time working through some kinks and issues with this instead of actually flying it. I got like 2 good batteries, and one of those only recorded once on the HD footage. But you know, I've got enough there to sort of think about what I feel about it initially, but I do want to fly it some more and try some different things out. So there's a lot to like about this. I like the fact that it's been spec'd up really quite highly. The fact it's got the Tarsier in it, the nice little touch like having the Speedy Bee, so you can go in and mess around with everything through your phone, not just the stuff you can do in the OSD. It's quite a nice, clever design. You can go battery up the top, battery down below. The Tarsier over here on its own is quite clever. Nice little stubby FPV antenna, nothing really sticking out. That's all very good. We're liking that. Could it have been a 4S? It's quite heavy, it's not over the top. I just don't know if we're getting more out of this from 6S or not. I haven't flown 6S enough to know that. So bits we don't like, and it's mainly, I think, these motors. Why are they so big? Again, not super experienced in 6S, but I'm pretty sure they're not all giant like this. I mean, here's the Nazgul 5 next to it, and you can just see the size of these massive motors compared to the Nazgul ones. They're just absolutely giant. And I really do think that was affecting the flight times and exactly how much I could push it. As soon as I put the throttle on, it would shout about being low battery all the time. So most of the time I'm flying around cruising pretty quickly at about 35 to 40% throttle, and that will really shift it. But it just seemed like they're an odd choice. I don't know if I'm right about this with 6S motors, but it seemed weird. That said, perhaps the problem was you did need a bigger battery. I bought batteries based on the fact that about 1500 was the going deal on a 4S quad, and the equivalent in sort of watt hours and stuff is about a 1056S. But I think we could have done with bigger, and then perhaps they wouldn't have sagged so much and stuff. But we were still getting, you know, between 3 and 4 minutes out of it, depending how hard I pushed it. In that last battery I was going really quick, and it was dropping down to sort of the 21 point something after sort of a minute and a half, really. Then after that I was able to cruise around and bring it in with 5 minutes, so it's all a bit weird. There's going to be a bit of getting used to with this sort of quad, which is kind of why I want to fly it some more. So the other odd thing, and I can't really hold this responsible, I was testing the R9 with it, and the R9 video will be coming up soon, and I had even more problems getting that running for other things I go into. This seemed to be an issue, I think, using the Tarsier. That 868 or 915 frequency was seeming to really do something weird with how the Tarsier was putting the footage back. I don't know why. Perhaps it's putting out some sort of funny signal, or I can't figure out, you know, why something on that frequency would be doing it, but it seems to be. I've got another R9 receiver that I'm going to be building on a different quad, which is a straight normal FPV camera. Just be interested to see if that does anything as well. I'm not expecting it to, but who knows. Yeah, I mentioned that to say beware of like flying crossfire or whatever. Now, my point of view I mentioned whilst flying it, and it's still kind of the same now, is just deciding what the market is for this one. I kind of called it a casual flyer, and I mean by that someone who's not some hardcore freestyler or a racer, because this is quite big and heavy. If you were a freestyler who wanted, you know, to put the best videos out there, you'd be flying something with a GoPro on it, because you want the best possible picture, and something like the Nazgul 5 here is really nice and has absolutely beautiful images using something like a GoPro 7 or GoPro 8. Because the Tarsier, although it was nice and stable in my FPV footage, it's still just a little bit bobbly sometimes, so it's a little bit susceptible to minor little lumps and bumps and stuff, whereas, you know, hyper smooth on a GoPro is going to always clean those little errors up. So I say casual in the fact that, you know, you don't always want to strap a GoPro to your quad, but you might just be flying and think, oh, this would look really nice if I had the HD footage of this. It's like, oh, you've already got it because you're flying the Tarsier, and if you don't want it those times, just clear the memory card and go again. So it's kind of nice if that's your sort of thing, and I kind of think that most people fly kind of in a casual way, but that said, a lot of people do not like props anywhere near their camera, so just be aware of that one. So I do want to go out and fly this a bit more, because I felt I was only really getting the best of it after I fixed the problems in like the last battery or so. And I want to do stuff like run it on 1440p and perhaps dynamically stretch that out and see how that felt, because I was quite liking the images we were getting from the Tarsier, despite those little bobbles, and there might be a little bit of tuning to do there to see if we can get it running any smoother. So I mentioned the Nazgul here, and this is basically its competition. If you weren't worried about the Tarsier and you wanted footage from a GoPro, then this is really your one. This is the 4S version. There is a 6S version, so it's a direct competitor. It's obviously going to be more expensive to hook up once you put a GoPro on board, but it is a lovely flyer. I don't think this flies quite as well, and I think these motors really do drain the battery, but I'm going to do some more with it and we'll see what happens. But until that time, this has been the Eachine LAL5 6S quad, and was kindly supplied for review by Banggood, so thanks to Banggood. And of course you can find links down below telling you where you can get this. I'll be back to fly it a bit more and do some different tests with it. Join me then. Until next time, I hope that's been helpful. Catch you next video. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.